and welcome to Inspire and Uplift Radio with LaShonda Millsap. It is certainly a wonderful Hump Day Wednesday, and I am feeling very, very blessed on this evening. Here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, it is a little gloomy outside, but as you know, when it's gloomy outside, the sun will be coming out soon. On the way home, I looked up and I actually saw a rainbow. So just remember, when we are going through storms and challenging times, there is something wonderful that will come out of that experience. And two of our guests will be sharing that with you today. Our first guest is Melissa Dawn Simpkins. She was raised in Fayetteville, North Carolina. She is a wife, a mother, an executive, an author, speaker, and fitness advocate. Melissa Brandt is a new model of success for women who lead. She is an influencer in the athletic community. She is currently the president of Velvet Suites, which is a leading innovation firm unleashing the future of profit through people. She is the creator of Women in the Spotlight, and that is a digital accelerator community empowering the advancement of women in leadership, leading companies and firms. She has executive clients such as the NFL, the NBA, the NCAA, Gillette, Notre Dame, Kraft, Pepsi, and the list just goes on and on. She is a graduate of E.E. Smith Senior High School here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I am so extremely proud of her. I just cannot say enough about her. I remember seeing her growing up, and I actually was her babysitter, and she has just been a beacon of light to so many women, and so in so many different ways, and a wonderful role model. So, Melissa, are you there? Did I leave anything out?
Only that I always looked up to you. That's the only thing you left out. The most important thing. Growing up in Fayetteville, which is my home, and you and your mother brought me in the house and took care of me when my parents were gone. And you I was always remember you having the biggest smile and always just a comforting presence. So it's no surprise that you're doing this radio show and uplifting people, and I'm just honored to be here.
Yes, and I am so blessed to be able to have you here. And it's funny how you said that I used to babysit you, and now it has come full circle, and you are just an amazing, amazing woman that so many of us can look up to, and you can inspire us to reach for our goals and aspirations, and that is one of the reasons why that I brought you on, and you are just a wonderful person to go right along with all those wonderful accomplishments. So I said some things about you, but I think you can do a better job than me. Can you provide us some other information that I may have left out?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, that's, resumes are kind of boring to me because it's like that's the highlight reel, but the real is that, I grew up in Fayetteville, and quite honestly, as my personality, I call myself a recovering introvert because I was kind of boring. Never as outgoing as I saw myself. I was always someone who's very conscious about my ability to talk in front of people. It's amazing that that's part of what makes me successful and do what I do today. But at one point in time, that really was something that I was petrified of. So if you just have some listeners who can relate to that, I've got you there. And I think just overall, the one thing that I would say has been a continued force in my life, whether the ups and downs, the highlight reel, or the things that, are discouraging and disappointing, it's been my faith and being able to be connected to good people, starting with my family and my parents and my sister, but, even beyond that, who kept me moving forward and did not let me stay where I was, that tragedy or that disappointment, let it break me, but they really encouraged me to keep moving forward and to take just one step at a time, and sometimes that's all you can do. And so I think that's the spirit of your show, is it's giving that encouragement and that uplifting message, because so many times there's messages out there, but also in our own head but just say, you know what, I should quit, and maybe I should give up, and nobody would know the difference. And so, you know, for all the accomplishments, I will say that it's really not about that. It's about the ability to persevere difficulties that makes the success more rewarding, because it really wasn't about the outcome. It was really about the journey.
Yes, yes. And you said it perfectly. That is so, that's wonderful that you are definitely sharing that. It is all about the journey. And I know you have had a wonderful, wonderful foundation with your mother, Brenda, and your father, and they, knowing them, they were Christian people that always were pleasant. I know your mom taught me etiquette classes and taught me how to do different things. So she is amazing, and I know that you have a strong faith. And hi, Angela, her cute little sister. I remember playing outside with her and watching her, too, and she has done some amazing things. And and y'all are just a wonderful, wonderful family. And I'm so happy to see that your husband and your baby, you're just doing some wonderful things. And I know there were some challenges that you had with that. So did you always know this is what you wanted to do, or when you were out at E. Smith, you know, cheering and dancing and all that stuff, did you always know that you wanted to do public speaking and things of that nature?
You know, as I got into probably elementary school, when my mother really recognized that I struggled in my confidence in communicating, she started putting me in forensics, you know, public speaking at West Area, and then that moved on to Reed Ross, and then at E. Smith. And so I felt I was going to do something with communications, because once I recognized that, like, you know what, Melissa, this is something that you were afraid of, but actually you enjoy, and you actually are really good at it, maybe there's a possibility for you to have a career. And so after I left Fayetteville, my dad, who was a professor at Fayetteville State, got a job at a small school in Ohio called Otterbein. And so I was transplanted to the Midwest. And coming from the South, I was not really happy about that at all. I did not want to move. And my sister and my parents were already there. I spent my last high school year at Smith, actually with a family friend, the Smiths, because my parents actually moved because of my dad's job. And so I thought I was going to go to school in one of the Carolina schools, and it didn't happen that way. And so when I got to school, my major ended up being broadcast. And I was a broadcast major for all of 5 days. And then I realized that was not going to be for me. I just could not see myself, you know, on the beat. You know, bank robber just happened behind me, or this happened, and putting a microphone in somebody's face, just the news. Initially, I thought it might be what I wanted to do, and then I realized that's probably not what I want to do. And I, again, at the time, I was a secretary at an insurance company, and this guy who was a big executive would walk in every morning, and I looked up and found out that he had worked at the college that I went to, and got the courage one day to get his attention and asked if I could have lunch with him. And he was a senior executive there, and he gave me some time. And, again, that's just one of those individuals, those like little breadcrumbs that God gives you. And he talked to me about this idea of public relations, which I did not know anything about it as a career. And he had gone to my college, my undergraduate, and he said, you know, you should look into it. And I did, and 5 days later I changed my major. So the journey just continued. I got corporate experience when I was in college there, and I worked at Victoria's Secret, and it took me, to talk about perseverance in the story, I applied for a job there, and it was an internship. And at that time, they took all of their interns from the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. You know, I'm a Southern girl going to a small private school in Ohio that not many people could even pronounce. And, you know, they were like, well, you're not from New York, and you're not from the Fashion Institute. And so literally I emailed her every month for a year. And every time I emailed her, I gave her a little bit of information that I had done and research on the company, and gave her this and that, until finally I think I just bugged her enough that she said, okay, we're going to give you an opportunity. And she became my boss, and she's the woman who created the Victoria's Secret fashion show. And so I got to be mentored under her in a corporate environment around marketing and, selling Victoria's Secret. But it was my first time having a real corporate experience. And so, throughout life, I think the theme is, and I could go on, and we'll get into more stories like this personally as well as professionally, but the key is that, success doesn't come to you because you just wait for it. You really have to go out and grab it and just be determined. I say I stand on a mountain of no's to get to one yes. If I can get to one yes, that will open the door to the next opportunity.
Wow. That is amazing. Wow. I appreciate that, because there certainly will be no's in pursuing your dreams and your aspirations. And I am so glad you decided to persevere and follow your vision for your life. So what exactly would you say is your vision and your platform as far as with your company? I know you have Velvet Suites and you have the Women in the Spotlight. What would you say is your vision for those projects and things that you do?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I've been an entrepreneur. I launched Velvet Suite in 2006. So a little over a decade I've been doing the entrepreneurial route, and I love it. My company is a leadership innovation firm. So we really focus on what does the future look like and how do people shape the future. And that's through developing what we call champion leaders. My way of doing that is through the concept of personal brand leadership. So the best way I can illustrate the power of branding, and I think it's very misconstrued now because of social media, and people confuse personal brand with likes and followers and tweets and all of that, and it's much deeper than that. It's about a fundamental sense of value, and the way I like to describe it that I think everybody can translate to is if I give you a $100 bill and I give you a piece of paper, pretty much they're the same, but the one, if I'm in New York, there's lots of paper on the ground. We call it trash. People don't think twice about it. If I dropped a $100 bill on the ground, it would be pressed to stay on there for 5 seconds, right? Because of the perceived value. So what we do is take the fundamentals of what corporations do to build brands, mega brands, name brand recognition, and we use that system and methodology to coach and consult organizations and individuals on how to create lasting brand leadership. And the Women in the Spotlight initiative is really the backbone of an online leadership institute called the Brand Leadership Institute. So the way that I interact with customers and clients are, most of my clients are corporations, and they're trying to retain really good talent. They're trying to help them develop and grow them so that they can remain competitive. And what we do is we help individuals discover their why, which then helps them discover their personal brand value. And we take them through a curriculum with content as well as an online community. So right now, we specifically are focused on women, not because women are the only ones who need this content, but because there's so much of an issue right now around gender equity and helping women get their fair share at work and helping women, juggle between their personal life and their career life. And so we just create this platform so people can connect and have real conversations and get coached. And it's really, really powerful. We've got about over nearly 200 women who've been through the program, and they're from all walks of life, all across the country, about 35 different states. And it's been my joy to do this because it's also given me back my time. I spend less time traveling in the car and going in airports. I'm able to be more of a present mom, but yet I'm still able to reach my customers and reach people and change lives. So technology is such a blessing because it enables us to do that. Like with your show, we're connecting with people, and you're where you are, and I'm here in my living room, and and it's all good. So that's really the impetus of my company, Velvet Suite, and what we do.
Okay, and so you also are the author of Brand Me, Make Your Mark, the Ultimate Playbook for Personal Branding. Now, when did you write that book?
The book was originally released in late 2007, so it was literally not too long after I left my corporate job. I re-released it a year and a half ago, but it really was about, if I'm going to be this branding guru and helping people understand how to turn what they love into a living, the first client has to be me. And so taking all the things that I had learned and working with big brands, I helped launch the Swiffer brand. If you guys know about that, if you do any house cleaning, you know about Swiffer. I worked with Victoria's Secret, and I worked at Nationwide Insurance, so I'd had a lot of these big brand experiences. I got my master's in integrated marketing from Northwestern, and so all that's great in theory, but it's tested in proof when you got to step out and promote and brand yourself and get clients and make money and not wait for a check for someone to cut it to you every month or every other week. And so I said, if this is really who I want to be and what I want to stand for, I have to have the proof behind that. And so it really was the blueprint that I've used, and also now that I coach other people on creating a brand, staying in demand, staying relevant, but most importantly, staying true and staying authentic to who you are, because that's something that right now we're seeing so much of, where people are not who they show themselves to be, and it causes a lot of problems. So that's my goal, is to help people live authentically, but also help people live valuably.
Wow, okay. And now I was going to ask about, because I checked you out on YouTube and I watched some of your videos, and that has motivated me. And I think one of your philosophies, or one of the questions you said, you find a problem, but you find a solution for it, or how? I don't know if I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah, you are, absolutely.
Yes. And so can you tell me a little about that?
Absolutely. Problem solvers have no problem getting jobs, getting opportunities. There's a lot of people who complain about a situation. It's those who find the solution, who launch Facebook, who create the brand Spanx, who, actually end up getting hired. And so my encouragement to people, and one of the things that that's been very instrumental in my success as an entrepreneur and in life, has been focusing on a problem, and not focusing on a problem that, every problem, because everyone's not created to solve every problem, and every problem is not equal either. But finding a problem that you are uniquely fit to solve. And what that means is, if there's something that you see that resonates with you, maybe it's an injustice, maybe it's something that just nags you, that you're like, there's got to be a better way to do this. Or maybe there's a situation on your job and everyone is just avoiding what could be an easier way to get something done. Focus on that, because that is what people will pay you for. They don't pay you for your hobbies. That only serves you. When you find a problem that you can solve that serves the need of someone else, that's where you are able to transact value. So, for example, part of why our program right now is focused on women is not because women are the answer to everything. I believe in equal opportunity. I love men. I love women. But the reality is that the market is saying right now there's an issue with women and keeping them in their careers and helping them juggle between, all the hats that we wear outside of our day-to-day work. That's a problem. I can come to the table with a proven solution, and that's how I've been able to grow my business in this space. Now, that's not all we can do, but that's where I'm focusing. I remember I used to live in Atlanta, and I had gotten invited to this private event with Tyler Perry. And they were talking, and it was an interview situation about, how did he grow his business and how did he do what he did. And one of the things that he said that always stood out to me, he says, the riches are in the niches. And that is focusing on an audience, focusing on a problem. And so, a lot of times we think we can just do everything and be everything to everyone. And if we just really stop and sit back and say, it doesn't take a lot. It can just be one idea that matters to one meaningful group of people. And that can take off like wildfire.
Wow, yes, and that's what I am talking about. So let's drive on down the road, go through your journey. I know there are some challenges that you faced, as far as with, I think it was with your blessing your little boy. Can you share a little of that with the audience?
Yeah. On the personal side, so a lot of what we've talked about is career, and I fully believe that we are not just one-sided, that we are whole people, and so there's the personal side of you and there's the professional side of you, and I think I'm more proud, if not as proud, of my personal success and how I define success versus just my career success. And one of the things that I recognized that I wanted to have as a personal success goal for me was that I wanted to be in partnership for life with a spouse, and I wanted to have children. Both of those did not come easy, and they definitely did not come as expected. Rewinding to when I was in my early 20s, I got into a serious relationship, and I was really excited about that, and we were talking about marriage. He was 27, and I was 24, and I had just started my job at Procter & Gamble, and I'm walking home from work, and I get a call that he died. He played basketball. He was an athlete, and he collapsed at the gym. And literally that day, we had talked about our plans to relocate so that we could become one and get married. And so that, again, is one of those life moments that is a defining moment because it's not what you planned, and there's nothing in life that can prepare you for tragedy. No matter how you feel like you can brace yourself, there's just no way to brace yourself for that impact. And so, that was a turning point for me, and it really was about me stepping back and saying, okay, I have to accept this new reality. This is real. This is now what I thought was going to happen will not happen at this stage. But, God, you got to give me the strength to believe again. You got to give me the courage to walk through a life differently because I have to let go of my past in order to go forward in the future. And that's one of the things that the Lord really did for me is he gave me, through the help of others and through time, the gift of time, and it was a long time before I met my husband, the opportunity to just take it step by step and to still believe. And that is the one thing that even though I wanted to let go of my faith, and any times I was challenged to wonder if I should believe, I still did. And it took 11 years. But through that loss, I realized that my passion was entrepreneurship, and I had reunited with that idea, and really my business became my boyfriend. It became everything. And I spent a lot of my time at that point focused on that. But then I recognized I needed to move on, and I wanted to make getting married and relationships a priority. So I had to do some work on me. And over the period of time of working on me and putting priority around becoming the woman I wanted my spouse to see as someone as much as I wanted to be with that individual, we ended up connecting, and suddenly in 6 weeks we were engaged, and 9 months we were married. And that was 11 years since I had that tragedy. And, I'm in Atlanta. I'm getting older, and I'm thinking, okay, this is not cute anymore. Something's got to give, or else I don't see where this is going, and it's not going like I had envisioned. So I get married, and finally, it's like finally it's happened. I'm so excited. We get married, and I end up going to, routine doctor's visit, and I asked for a scan. The doctor came back and said, you don't need it, and found out that I had a cyst. Went in and removed the cyst. Everything was fine, but after coming from surgery, he said, your tubes are blocked, and you're not going to be able to be a mom. And I was devastated because I was 6 months. This was 6 months after I just got married. So that clearly was not the path and the plan that I thought I was going to be on again. But yet and still I said, okay, God, I'm going to still believe, and there's got to be another way. And so we looked into the IVF route, which I had never thought about, didn't know anything about it, and went through that process and went through it one time and failed. And was totally devastated and saying, this is not my plan. This is not what you promised. What is going on? And you have those conversations with yourself, but you say, okay, God, if you're God, You created life. You can create something from nothing. And so I'm just going to continue to believe. And so we went through the process again, and thank God we had success, and our son was born in 2016. So, the lesson is many women have this story and have struggled with infertility. I'm public about sharing my story because I believe that a lot of women suffer in silence, and I want to encourage women. As a matter of fact, I now pray with women who've dealt with this. I have one woman that I've given some advice because I found some information through trial and error that really helped me have a better chance of success. And, I literally want 2 women that I've prayed with and coached. One got pregnant with twins, and she was almost 50. The other one just confirmed a few weeks ago that she's now pregnant. So I'm encouraged, and I want to keep encouraging mommies to have babies.
Yes. Okay, so we are getting close to the end of our time. I just wanted to go over quickly because I know you have some good information, successful strategies that you use every day. What do you do every day to kind of prepare your day, and what are some things that you can do to pass on to other people to help them reach their goals?
Yes, one of the things that I have spoken of that was just reminded of me that I have said before and I'd forgotten, I'm now putting it back in practice, is own your first hour, own your day. And the idea of whatever you can do to own the first moment of your time, even if it's just to open your eyes and say a quick prayer, even if it's to step away and to get some quiet time and meditate, even if it's just to go for a quick walk. I know you may want to do, an hour run or a jog, maybe you only get 15 minutes in, but find the time to focus on you first. One of the things I'm also doing and I believe in is limiting your technology. I've really tried to practice that. Sometimes I'm better at it than others, but particularly around our son and family time, like making it a no technology zone, because that it just diminishes the quality of relationship, because you're on the phone and you're distracted. Something else I practice is trying to anticipate. So before I go to a meeting, I learned this from one of the executives I used to work with. She would never go to a meeting without an agenda. And it seems, at first I was like, well, why do we need to prepare? And I was younger then, but now I get it, because time is so valuable. You can't get it back. So whatever you can do to prepare yourself before the moment helps you have more confidence in the moment, and then it helps you to be able to make the most of the time, so that you're not wasting time, you're not wasting other people's time. So I think those are 3 things. Own the first moment, own the first hour, own your day. Create some space for technology-free zones around sleep, around family, and then 3, just being prepared before the moment and using that to help manage your time better and to make sure that you feel more confident before you get into a situation.
Okay, so we're going to have to end, but can you quickly give us your social media information, also your email address or things where people can get in contact with you?
Sure. My company website is velvetsuite.com, VELVETSUITE. And my personal website is Melissa Dawn, DAWN, Simpkins, SIMKINS, no P. And Instagram, it's Melissa Dawn Simpkins. Facebook, Melissa Dawn Simpkins. Twitter, the MDS brand. And I cover all of them. LinkedIn, Melissa Dawn Simpkins.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and you have been such a blessing, and I wish you more and more success. I'll continue to look for your name in lights, because they are definitely there, and I am so very proud of you, and you keep doing your thing.
Oh, thank you so much. Congratulations on your show, and thank you for having me. I was honored to be on.
Okay, thank you. You have a blessed evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We'll go to break next, and then we'll have Brian Bullock on. happy to have you all today. And I want to bring on our next guest. His name is Brian Bullock, and he is a special education teacher in Charlotte, North Carolina. He is a native of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and a proud and happy graduate of E.E. Smith Senior High School in NC State. He is formerly an NFL star or football player, and he is also a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, and he is just a beacon of light. He's also an author, a motivational speaker, and he just really is a wonderful, wonderful person that is a wonderful role model for our young men. Brian, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you now. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So let's get started. Now, I know you are a special education teacher. You have been in the field for about 20 years now, and you also went to E.E. Smith High School, where you were a star athlete, and you graduated in, what, 83?
83, yes.
Yes. And so tell me, is there anything that I forgot to let the audience know about you? Also your business is Proactive Teaching. Is there anything else that I left out?
That's fine. That's good.
Okay. So you are the author of The ABCs of Classroom Management. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And when was that book released?
It was released in 2007, and there's a story behind that book. Can I share it?
Yes, of course.
That book was written when I was, before I became a teacher, I was a behavior modification technician. That's somebody that deals with behavior in the classroom. And I would go and observe teachers, and I would take notes as I was observing them. And there was a teacher, Elaine Miller, that read my notes and said, "This is good. You should put it in some type of format." So we started coming up with the ABCs of Classroom Management. She helped me, to think of that concept. So every day I would just work on it. And we had a speaker come out to our school. Her name is Glenda Horton Manning. She's an author and motivational speaker in Charlotte. And I showed her, I was binding them myself, and I showed her my manuscript. And she said, "This is good enough to be published." And I'm a little embarrassed to say this now, but I was so intimidated by hearing something being published that I kind of just froze, and I put the book in the closet for 7 years.
Wow.
And my next door neighbor read it, and then he built websites at the time, and he told me, he said, "You need to get this book published." So I went ahead and got it published, and he built me a website for me getting the book published. So that's how my book became a book. It was not actually written to be a book. It was just good notes.
Wow, and you wanted to share that wealth of information.
Absolutely. When you write a book or you become published or you do something that helps other people, you're working for yourself and getting paid for doing something that you enjoy doing. But it's not about the money. It's about doing something that you enjoy doing and able to make some money while doing it. And I get pleasure out of educating people on strategies to use in the classroom, because teaching, which we all see, you've been keeping up what's going on in the news, teaching is right now at its the morale, so far as North Carolina is concerned, at a low. And I'm thinking that my book, just strategies in dealing with students, will help teachers to have a better managed classroom, which is half the battle. Mm-hmm. If you're not stressed out having to deal with your students every day and you have practical strategies in dealing with your students, it makes your job more fulfilling.
Yes, most definitely. And I am in the classroom, and classroom management is a big part of what we do, along with the curriculum and things of that nature. It is crucial to be able to manage the classroom, because then you can't move on to the different standards and other goals that you are hoping to accomplish. So I have an appreciation for some insight about classroom management. So when you were at E. Smith High School, did you ever picture yourself actually teaching, or what? How did we get there?
That's a very good question. I was talking to my students about that yesterday. I have no idea how I got here. No, seriously. No, that was the furthest thing from my mind. Teaching, and especially teaching without being a coach, because if I didn't think about teaching. I really wasn't sure. I thought I was going to go into the NFL forever and a day and, live the glorious life. But, things happen. Life happens. And it didn't work out that way. But being a teacher was nowhere in the mix at all. What got me into teaching was when I came to Charlotte. I didn't have my degree, and I didn't have to have a degree to be a behavioral mod technician. So I decided to go back to school and finished up my degree at UNC Charlotte. And then from that point, I went and got my teaching license and started teaching. And I had a good rapport with the students, so I just started focusing my energies on, just helping students to be successful in the classroom and manage their behaviors. But I never in my wildest dreams, LaShonda, thought that I would be a teacher. And if I was a teacher, I definitely knew I would be coaching. But I consider myself a life coach. If I can get a young man prepared for life, or a young lady, get them ready for life and make a difference, them coming out being successful, that's what, keeps me going. And I remember going back to Fayetteville when our teachers were there, and they would be so excited to see us and our old coaches, and they want us to come and speak to the kids or whatnot. But, at the time I'm wondering what's all the hoopla about. But when you become a teacher and your former students return and you see what you've, sewn into and see how they're looking and what they're doing, it makes you very proud.
Yes.
So I consider myself a life coach.
Yes, most definitely. And so I think that's important to realize is not only are you being a teacher, but people don't realize that you also are like a nurse, a social worker. You are some of everything.
All the hats.
Classroom. Yes, you wear all of those, and you get to know the children very well. And actually, you end up spending probably more time with their kids than some parents do these days, unfortunately. So you get to know them pretty well, and you can identify their strengths as well as their weaknesses. And so a lot of times you got to pull out those strengths and talk with them about those kinds of things. And so you were headed you were in the NFL for a little bit, right?
Yes, a little bit, a couple of years.
Okay. And then you had some things to go on, and then you had to bounce back, and you ended up doing some other things. What was that journey like?
Oh, boy. That was a journey for another book. When I was in Indianapolis, I tore my knee up in practice, a non-contact practice, and I was an injured reserve my second year. And you're still a part of the team, but you're not. You are a part of the team, but you're that connection that you have with your teammates in the locker room is not there because you're rehabbing and getting yourself together. So I came back to Fayetteville and was living a nomad lifestyle, not making very poor decisions, depressed because of my knee injury, wondering what I'm going to do with my life, just basically headed nowhere fast. Didn't have my degree, so I knew it was time for a change, so I moved to Charlotte for a different change of pace. And Charlotte has been good to me. I had a part-time job when I came up here, stayed at the YMCA for a little while until I got an apartment, or actually stayed in a boarding house, and then I got an apartment. But the journey has been, it's been very humbling because when you see real life in front of you and you're not prepared like you should be, like E.E. Smith prepared me to be, it makes you sit back and think that, either you can keep going in this direction or you can make some changes. So that's what really motivated me to go back to school. But I worked as a waiter at the Marriott for 7 years, and I worked in the banquet department, and that's how I made my living. I also worked at a truck wash and, wash trucks. And then I would go to the Marriott after that and do my table thing. And, I was doing at the time what I needed to do, but I knew I was better than that. So I just wanted to finish my degree. And when I finished my degree, I had no idea what I was going to do with my degree. I just wanted the satisfaction of finishing something that I started. And Miss Bonnie Rivera, one of my lead teachers, asked me, did I ever think about teaching? And I was like, no. And she's like, well, these are your options with your degree, which is sociology. She said I could be a social studies teacher or a special education teacher. She gave me the benefits and pluses and minuses of both of them. But when she said special education, one thing that she did say, she said, you're a black male and you'll always have a job in this position. And I was like, okay. And then being, when I was in the 6th grade, they threw me in special education classes at Edgewood. And I stayed there to the 8th grade. Being a former special ed student, I can identify with the students and what they go through.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think within life we go through those situations to be a testimony to others. I know myself, I was a single mom, and I remember working in the banquet hall at Fellow State University, so that made me have a greater appreciation for my college education. And I remember working at Black & Decker too, and I was testing out the drills and things of that nature, and testing to see if there was a surge of electricity that would go through. And I remember shocking myself a couple of times. I was like,
wow,
this is not the life. So sometimes we go through those situations in order to allow us to relate to others later on in life, and that's what makes us more transparent and able to help others. So I know that journey that journey is now a testimony for you. And so I thank you so much for sharing that. So
you're more than welcome.
Yes. So as far as your vision or platform, I know you have a business, Proactive Teaching, and you also do some mentoring. Did you do a program, mentoring program?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little about each one of those businesses or programs?
Well, actually, the mentoring we no longer do.
Okay.
But yeah, we did it for 6 years. It was called the Emerging Leaders Mentorship Program for Black Males, and I graduated over 450 black males in Charlotte, North Carolina that were not bad kids. They could have either went either way. They had an interview to get in our program. They couldn't be in trouble in school or with the law. We took them to D.C. several times. We took them to Atlanta to the Black College Expo, different places like that. Had a chance, to pour into their lives, and that's a whole show by itself. But what I do now is I do workshops on my book. And basically, I have a PowerPoint presentation on my book, and I just go through my book, and I give situations that happen, and then I give a solution to the problem. Every alphabet has a problem and a potential solution to the problem. And I very much enjoy doing that because people feel empowered when they have some tools to work with. And I've been doing workshops on my book since 2008, and I just enjoy, giving people information, and I enjoy the feedback that I get from people as well. Also, what I do is I do workshops for black males, dealing with black males. I do workshops on behavioral modification. Basically, if a school has a situation dealing with behaviors or special education or black males in special education, I will put together a presentation specifically for that school. And I just like giving knowledge to people because so many people are ignorant of the fact of how to deal with kids with special needs. When I say ignorant, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean don't know how to just a lack of knowledge in how to deal with them. And when you give people information, it helps them to really make it tangible to them to the point that when they see something, they know what they're looking at. Because a lot of times when students are doing something, the teacher doesn't even know what they're looking at. So I want to help you to be able to identify when you see this is what's going on. When this young man says this is what he's really saying. When this kid has his hat turned to the side, he's repping, so I just give them a smorgasbord of information. I do go over gang activity as well.
Okay. And that definitely is a big topic these days. I know that's something that we deal with. I work in an alternative school, middle school.
You're on Ramsey Street?
No, I am actually at Howard Learning Academy.
And don't forget to remind me to send you a copy of my book.
Okay, that sounds good. So, you, as far as sometimes there may be some issues as related to culture, you think, sometime in the classroom, and sometimes you got to kind of break it down to the teachers, or what do you think about that?
Well, I think cultural differences is one thing. I think more than anything else is a generational gap. I think with each generation the gap gets bigger. And we have so many dynamics going on in this country now that the dynamics have just gotten bigger. So that is a part of it. But I think more than anything, it's a cultural thing. People have different ways of expressing how they, especially young people, how they feel or not showing how they feel. And if you're able to identify with that student, then you can help that student better than just – and let me say this. I know I'm kind of all over the place. Many times when teachers work with students and that student – say that student says something, and you work in an alternative school would know this. Say that student cusses you out or says something negative to you. That next day, there has to be a fresh start, correct?
Yes.
Too many teachers take things personally, and it's not about taking things personally. And we're not going to like all of our students. All of our students are not going to like us. But the point of the matter is we have to be professionals and teach that student to do our jobs.
Yes, most definitely. And I know formerly before I was at Howard, I was a behavior specialist. And for me, yeah. So for me, sometimes I would take the teachers and I'm like, okay, because they would be, kind of tripping about them not having a pencil and paper. And I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah. And so my thing is like, okay, you know what? How about we take a ride out to this student's house? And so I would take them to the house, and they'd be like, oh my God, they would realize and see some of the things that the kids were actually going through,
Exactly.
And the parents had an appreciation for the teachers actually coming out and seeing them and seeing that they were vested. And some parents were just like, oh Lord, the teacher's here. But
exactly.
But sometimes that's what you have to do. The teachers need to see some part of their students' world, because some of our students are amazing, very resilient. They've come through so much. And so it is amazing that you do that work. And I understand I'm definitely going to have to get one of your books, and I will integrate that into my work, most definitely. So you tell? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say to you, can you tell me about some of the successful strategies that you use in order to get started in your day, as far as, say, do you do devotional, or how do you organize your day, or how do you start your mornings, and how do you end your days?
Well, when I wake up, the first thing I do is stretch. Before I get out of bed, I just give a good stretch, because being a former athlete, I have a lot of aches and pains. So after I stretch, before I get up, I actually get out and I have a stretch routine that I go through every morning. And that helps me to clear my thoughts. It helps me to keep my back feeling good. I don't have to worry about my sciatic nerve acting up. And it's just a good way to get the day started. And usually by that time, it's about an hour before I go to work. One of my frat brothers, Dr. Greg Hardy, he does a devotional every morning live on Facebook.
Oh.
So while I'm getting dressed and all that, I got him on live. I'm getting my praise on early in the morning.
Yes.
Yes. So by that time, it's 7 o'clock. I'm full. I'm feeling good. I talk to moms every morning, so I'll call her, talk to her about what I just heard, what my frat brother talked about. We'll talk about just what mothers and sons discuss, and then I'm off to work. But that's what gets me started, and I try to accomplish one thing so far as my business is concerned, and some things so far as my other job is concerned. I definitely want to spend time with both of them, not just indulge in one and not the other.
Yes. So it's important to have some balance there for you.
Absolutely. You got to get your spiritual life right. You have to get your body right. You just got to take care of yourself. So when you go to work, your mind's clear and you can take care of business like you're supposed to, and eat a good breakfast, of course. Mm-hmm. But all those things are important: body, mind, and soul.
Yes, most definitely. And I know for me, when I was an early professional, when I did in-home counseling, I was just kind of rigid about my schedule. I had this agenda, and I would be like, I need to accomplish this. These are the strategies I'm going to use. I meet them at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, this and that and the other. And I was also on call. So when they would call me out of the blue, oh my Lord, I would be out of sorts. And so I think it's important to learn to be flexible also in our lives, and just kind of roll with the flow instead of like just kind of being like, I didn't meet all of my agenda items. So I definitely had to learn that myself. So let me ask you another question. Do you think that it's important to have a mentor?
Oh, absolutely. Well, let me say this. If you have a father in the house, it's not as important. A strong father, a strong father figure in the house is not as important. But I had mentors in my life, and I didn't realize they were mentors at the time. But to go back to your question, and nowadays with only 39% of our community having a traditional mother-father relationship or relationship in the house, and a lot of the males not having that male figure to discipline them and whatnot, it is necessary in this day and age. And it does not, and people a lot of times say that we need black men to mentor black males, but that's not necessarily true. You need somebody that is authentic and somebody that really has the student's best interest or young man's best interest at heart to work with that person. It's not even about color or race. It's about relationships.
Okay.
And mentors change lives.
Yes, most definitely. That is for sure. So as an adult, do you think it's important to have like a mentor, someone to kind of hold you accountable for different things? Because I know there are some professionals that have those mentors that kind of hold them accountable or hold them to the bar for doing certain things and following through. Do you think that's important?
Yes, LaShonda, it's vitally important. And speaking of that, the only reason I'm where I'm at now is because so many people helped me and mentored me and told me things that are, they're still helping me. Because, hopefully we're lifelong learners, so we're going to continue to learn. But, yes, if you're a professional, you need to have somebody that's going to hold you accountable, somebody that's able to tell you, if you're doing something wrong and you're not getting your little feelings or whatever. That's vitally important. You need to have that person that's going to hold you, cheerlead for you, and then talk to you real talk when you need that as well. So, yes, it's vitally important.
Okay. And so is there anything, because we're going to have to get ready to round out, is there anything that I've left out that you wanted to talk with a radio audience about?
Well, I am going to promote myself a little bit. I do workshops, so if you're interested in the workshop, please let me know. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy educating people. I'm just thankful to all the people that have poured into me and helped me to get to where I'm at. But, this is a journey, so we have not reached our destination. We're still rolling on.
Okay. And so where can your book be found? Do you have a website or?
Actually, I'm putting together a Facebook page now instead of a website, I'm going to have a professional Facebook page, which you can come on my Facebook page, which is Brian Bullock, or you can go to Amazon and get it off of Amazon. You can get it either as a book, or you can get it as an ebook. And if you want to get one, if you want to get it personally signed or whatever, you can just contact me through Facebook, and then we can go from there.
Okay, and that's the best way for others to reach you, right, through Facebook?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, Brian, I appreciate you giving us some of your time and your wonderful insight on how to be successful. And I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge. And also, I remember you having a post on Facebook where you shared how to publish a book.
Yes.
And that was very helpful. So continue to do your thing, and thank you for affecting the lives of our young men and all our children. And you have a good night. We'll end here. And I hope to see everyone from E. Smith High School at the reunion this weekend, and I look forward to it. And you all have a blessed evening.
Thank you, LaShonda. I appreciate the opportunity.